Hello, welcome. djvicvapor with you. Welcome to Bitwig Studio, and this is the Phase 4 course or Phase 4 tutorials. I'm not sure what the title is going to be officially, but this will be Part 1, Lesson 1, Tutorial 1, whatever. Anyhow, the Phase 4 is the new synth inside of Bitwig Studio. Of course, you know that by now. That's probably why you've decided to push play and check out the videos and see what's going on. But what we need to understand is at the basic level, what is phase distortion? Like, what is it and what's the concept behind it? So I'm going to try my best to explain it. Now, I'm not a, synthesis expert, but I do play one on TV. No, I'm just kidding. Had to say that. But I think I can probably get you guys pointed in the right direction to get you a good basic understanding of what we need to accomplish to make some really good sounds with the Phase 4. So if you're not familiar with the history of phase synthesis, it, from my understanding, started with the Casio, the Casio 101. I think it was released in 83 or 84. It was one of the first, or I believe it was the first synthesizer that used phase distortion as opposed to phase modulation to I think it did a little bit of both actually, but anyhow, it was the kind of the beginning of this new area of sound exploration and sound design. So it started with the Casio, and they continued on to make several different models after this, but the the Casio 101, I believe, like I said, 83 or 84 was the first. So, all right, enough of that out of the way. We're here to learn about Bitwig's Phase 4. So, what is phase distortion? So let's think about it. The best way to describe it is looking at this. I'm going to be working with the first oscillator here in the Phase 4. There's 4 total. We're going to be working out of the one with the red, the R. So as you guys are looking at my screen, I know there's a lot of different waveforms here. Just pay attention to the top left corner here, the red one, the letter R. That's where we'll be working. So just to give you an idea, what we're seeing though is this is the oscillator, red oscillator. This one is the blue, yellow, and I believe the M is for magenta. And then over here, you've got the output, the total output of the sum of everything that's going on will be displayed in an output over here. And then we've got some envelopes to talk about a little bit later. All right, so looking at this waveform right here, this simple sine wave that I've got here, to help you get a better concept or a better idea of what's going on with phase distortion is we need to look at this center line right down the middle here, the zero crossing point, and consider it the start point for our waveform here. So our waveform starts right here where my mouse is, and then it goes up, and it peaks here at about 90 degrees. If you're thinking of it like in a circle concept of 360 degrees. So it would start here at 0, and would go up to about 90. Come down here, you're at 180, but you're not done yet. That's not the complete cycle of the form. So we're at 180 here. We come down here, the bottom, we're at 270, and now we're at 360 right here. This is the start, and this is the end of that cycle. That one sine wave cycle right there. So once you kind of visualize that, it'll make more sense what's happening when we move. For instance, I'm just going to push a random button on my keyboard here. We'll get a little sine sound. But watch and pay attention now that we understand where the start is. So this is the start, and this is the start, and this is the start. Watch right there at those zero crossing points. When we change the shape of the wave by using this little shape knob here, watch how it begins to manipulate the shape of the sine wave, and also listen to the quality or the timbre of the sound, how it changes as well. So hopefully you noticed right there and right there. And of course, probably a little bit out of sight there because you got to think of this thing as going all the way through. But that's where we're manipulating the sound or the waveform. That's where we're causing the distortion to happen. So essentially, if you think of phase distortion, it's just a way to modulate or a way to manipulate the waveform from its start point to create, unique sounds. So that is the basics of phase distortion. So, and it's the same for every waveform that we use within the Phase-4. So right now, I've got a simple sine or just a sine wave here, and then it's got a number 1. This number 1 actually stands for formants, basically, or like introducing different octaves. So if you watch what happens now, if I'm holding down this key and I just go up on the number 1, it's just like raising the octave basically and adding more formants into the waveform. And if you, again, make sure we're paying attention to this red waveform, you can see the changes as I introduce more formants there. You can see more being added. And it's giving us that higher harmonic content or quality. But let's see what else they've given us to work with here. We've got a double. And as I move the shape there, the same thing, it's starting the manipulation or the modulation is starting at the start point of each cycle. And then you can hear the harmony or hear the changes. Let's go. Oh, let me see what this one does. This is half. So essentially it's a sine wave that just doesn't go down. It just stays on top, goes up, like you guys kind of get it. But let's see here. So now you can see I've added the additional octaves or formants, and you can see them added here now. You can see there's 5, and you can just continue to add or subtract. So hopefully that makes sense to you, and I did a good enough job explaining it. But I just wanted you guys, the important thing about this particular video tutorial to start us with is get that visual concept of exactly what we're accomplishing here when we're talking about phase and phase distortion, is to understand where exactly in the cycle we're creating the distortion or creating the the change in quality and timbre. That, in a nutshell, is phase distortion. So we'll go ahead and move on and take a look a little bit further into some of the other features here within the Phase-4. Just wanted to give you guys a nice basic foundation to start to work with here. So, all right, let's move on to the next tutorial.